apostleship hinges on two immutable things: gods and nations. Welcome to Apostle of the Future with Apostle Ashleigh C.
Welcome to our new season of Apostle of the Future. Today, I'm so excited about today's guest, not just because of the topic, but because of our history. We've been friends, we can say forever at this point. Whenever you can start saying that you've known somebody over a quarter of a century, I don't know, a quarter of a century sounds so much longer than 27 years. And that's how long we met. We met at ORU, or Roberts University, in the late 90s, from the 1900s. Yes, we're that old, and have grown together as ministers, as women, as friends. And today she is my special guest. If you have been following in the Dr. Paula Price universe for any number of time, then you know Prophet Marie Solberg.
I love it.
All your friends are like, you're so goofy and weird. We were roommates at ORU. We were actually wingmates first semester in 1999, and then we became roommates out of survival in that season, and have been friends ever since. Drafted her into the ministry, and have been working together ever since. So tell the people who you are, where you're from, Minnesota, your undergrad education, your master's level education, and now what you're pursuing with education.
Right. Amen. The journey has officially begun and just continues, right?
It does.
So yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Prophet Marie Solberg. I am a scientist. I'm an epidemiologist. So I have my bachelor's of science in biomedical chemistry from Oral Roberts University. Went through a 10-year kind of career discovery time, where I worked in medicine, I worked in research and development, I worked in aerospace, I worked in the petroleum industry, and then God called me to go back to school. And this was late 30s, early 40s. So I was very nervous, but praise God, obeyed the word of the Lord. Went to University of Oklahoma, got my master's in biostatistics and epidemiology. Was an epidemiologist for the State Department here locally in Oklahoma for just a little over 5 years. This will actually be my 6th year of being an epidemiologist.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and continuing to just obey the word of the Lord of my life. And those of you that have gotten a PhD, you know what I'm talking about. You know, your first like all aglow with the the PhD process, and then like of course if you get further along, it's more of a fight, but it's a fight that's worth it. So I'm currently enrolled in Walden University, getting my PhD in epidemiology with the focus in epigenetics. So that's a little rundown for me.
Let's take a minute and chat, shall we? The great thing about having these conversations with people that you know very well, just like I did with Apostle Dwayne Whitehead, is the conversation can go anywhere while we're yet getting to the point.
Yes.
And since I've known you forever, let's take a minute and talk about fulfilling destiny. When I met you, you had one idea, which at that point was kind of the only way you could do medicine in many ways, because we have to go back over 25 years. Education has changed. How programs are constructed and degrees are constructed now is wild compared to when we were in college and the options that we have. When we met, the idea of going into medicine was a doctor. How did you get from doctor to epidemiology? And how did prophecy, particularly from Dr. Price, factor into that journey? What did you have to do to reconcile that? When you talked about that 10-year window of exploration, yes. What did that look like and feel like?
Goodness. You know, sometimes this is what people don't tell you. Sometimes walking out a prophecy can really be a journey, as well as you're walking out the pains of an uncertainty and unbelief when it comes to that prophecy.
Ooh.
Because like I said, when we were at ORU, I think it was in like my junior year, and I struggled through my junior year. There was a lot going on at home. There was a lot going on emotionally. I was working through a lot of things that had kind of come up from my childhood, my junior year. And of course, my junior year is when I decided to take biochemistry, which was a graduate level. It was a 4-credit course because I wanted to, dive deep. I wanted to see if I can make it. I was literally, I have an incredible parents, and I have an amazing mom, and I had, her emphasis in my life was very career driven, and not that you need to get, she wanted me to get married, but it was like, not that you need to get married, not that you need to have kids, but you do need to have a career.
And your mom is what?
My mom is a registered, she has her bachelor's. She has, she's a registered 4-year nurse, and she's been a nurse longer than I've been alive. So she's been a nurse. I think she graduated when I was 2. So she's been a nurse. I think we're clocking close to 50 years. And
wow. Yeah.
The hilarious thing is she's still doing a form of nursing and teaching even now at the pregnancy center that she works with.
And she was married, raised 4 kids. So just to paint the picture of her emphasis for you was she did it all.
She
with
really,
your dad, and knows the challenges, how hard it is, but that emphasis on you need your education. And you're the firstborn. And, the oldest grandchild, the first one, right? Are you the first one too?
Well, I'm the oldest. Of course, I'm the oldest of 4 in my family, and then on my mom's side of the family, I am the oldest grandchild of 36 grandkids. So definitely, and there's a
no pressure, but you face the first pressures, being the first one of this and the first one of that. And on top of it all, I think it is noteworthy to say your dyslexia also factoring into challenges, and you're dealing with numbers, formulas, complex words, and things of that nature. That was also a part of the obstacles that you're facing. I wanted to throw that out there.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, true to form, like I said, even with prophecy, it's also a critical factor of who you have in your life. I remember the first, it was within my first year, I had gotten an assessment because with dyslexia, you have to do your testing every 7 years. Even though dyslexia never goes away, I have type 2, which means it does get better with age. It does get better with practice and whatnot, but it never truly goes away outside of the blood of Jesus. So I remember getting assessed, and the professor, the PhD, the doctor that was assessing me, after everything was all said and done, he looked at me and he said, "You really should choose a different degree. Wow. I don't think you're going to make it. You really need to choose something else." And I remember being devastated, and I remember being really sad, depressed, because I was like, here's someone that has a whole career as a PhD. Here's someone who's obviously probably has several published works under his name telling me, you're not going to make it. You're not smart enough. And I remember Apostle Ashleigh was my roommate. At that time, we didn't have titles or anything. We were just friends.
Ashleigh and Marie trying to make it.
Hey. And I remember the conversation we had in our dorm room. You were like, are you going to be depressed and just sit around? Or are you going to prove them wrong?
Did I say that? That sounds like something I would say. Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I don't remember that at all.
So I remember thinking, you know what? For everyone that said I was dumb, that I was a slow reader, that I was a stupid blonde, I was like, you know what? I've already proved them wrong because I'm here.
Yeah.
I was like, Lord, she's right. She's right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to prove them wrong. Just like I proved everybody else wrong. And that was me. That was my mentality. So thinking of even what a stronghold being an MD was in my life, just to illustrate that. Because 2, it was what I was raised for. My mom would, be trying to study for her exams, and I would sneak away from my dad. Probably didn't take a whole lot of effort, but I would sneak away from my dad, and she would just sit me on my lap, and we would go through anatomy together. I was just a baby, but I would.
Oh, that's cute.
My mom never put those. Too, prophecy really is in the seed. Prophecy really is what can, those that you're born to is really important. Because my mom never put those kind of limits on my brain. She never put those limits on my mind. She was always heartbroken of how much I struggled, but she never doubted my ability. She always pushed me. She always told me I could do it. She always believed in me. I thank God always had both parents in my corner, and can make such a difference. Huge difference. So anywho, so I remember that key breaking moment. And I remember, like I said, it was my junior year. Dr. Price gave me a prophecy of, this is not what you're called to do. Medicine is not what you're called to do. She gave me this word about being this great communicator. God's going to call you to be in communications, this and this and that. Now, but she said, don't change your degree. Don't change your degree. Finish. But medicine isn't what you're going to do. I struggled with that word.
Yeah.
I think for a solid couple years, because when you were literally raised with good intentions, but when you are literally raised to be something, like, it's ingrained in you. And so now it's like this whole discovery process of, if I'm not going to be an MD or a DO, what am I supposed to be?
Yeah.
I literally always had these visions of doing medical missions and doing this and doing that. Now, you have to remember, we graduated in 2003. Epidemiology was not a thing. Immunology, virology, all those things, were they established sciences? Absolutely. But it's not like they came with the degree plan.
Right.
It really wasn't something. And the whole reason I took biomedical chemistry was because it had an 80% chance of, it had the highest rating of 80% of students who graduated with that degree went on to medical school and did very well in medical school, got accepted into medical school. That was the whole reason why I even picked my degree in the first place. So it was like, are you serious? Like, my whole life, my whole life has been building up to this. My whole life has been leading up to this. Like, what do I do? So, and the Lord uses everything. And I think the Lord even knew that I wasn't mentally or emotionally prepared. The Lord had to really walk me through the whys of why you're not called to this. You don't have the patience for people that you need on a daily basis dealing with us. I'm keeping it real, keeping it honest here, folks. You don't
ain't lying.
Okay, you don't have the patience to deal with these people. You love them. You want to get to the bottom of their issues and their problems, but you want to go about it your way. You don't have the level of empathy that is needed for this particular, to do this day in and day out. And he started to walk me through. And in this walking through, of course, I got to make money. I got to make money somehow. So I was like, well, if anything, this is going to be what's in my back pocket that makes me money. And that's how I kind of went through the different career settings. And I learned so much. And even for what I'm doing now, it gave me the background of not just medicine, but it built a lot of logic frameworks that are necessary to be able to interpret scripture with the tools of using science as a tool, not as the answer, but as a tool. So I think in that, the Lord knew what he was doing. I emotionally, psychologically needed so much, I had to go through the process I had to, because I actually wasn't ready. There was a lot of self-confidence that had to be repaired and built. There was a lot within me that the Lord was like, just like God knew the children of Israel were going to go around that mountain as many years.
Just a couple times.
Okay. Go around as many times. And he was just like, And the funny thing is that, I don't talk about it a whole lot, but the funny thing is that
Talk here.
I think it was because they were like, well, you never even tried. And I was like, no, actually, because I thought about being a PA, a physician's assistant. And I think I had gone a year out of school. So that it wasn't 2003, it was 2004. So it was just a year out of college that I tried to get into, get into the PA program. Couldn't do it because of the money, because I had student loans. And two, I think there was a couple of qualifiers. So I'm like, I tried to actually get into med school and didn't, because Dr. Price told me, if you don't go back to school right away, it will be 10 years before you get back into this.
She did. I remember that.
Cool. And literally, I want to say, I think I clocked it back. I think it was down to the month. It was 10 years because I went between the time she told me that prophecy, because I started my master's spring of 2017. So
wow.
It was a long journey in between to where some prophecies really do, like, you have to come up to that word. You have to put in the work for that prophecy to be fulfilled, for you to be ready in all of your facets, to be ready for that word.
That's a good word, about the word.
Okay. So, I mean, prophecy really is what it is. There's some prophecies, that God will give you a timeline. There's other prophecies that God's like, this is going to happen when you're ready to do this. When you are equipped with all the things that are needed to fulfill this world, because God's word isn't going to fail.
Right.
He will get you out if he needs to. So Dr. Price let me know, hey, your window is closing and you really should do this. And I had narrowed it down to, and this was conversations. And at this time, and I can say proximity to the right people, guys, huge for fulfilling your word.
Yeah.
Because at the time I was cleaning Dr. Price's house. I was still cleaning Dr. Price's house. It was just something, it was my part of servanthood that I felt like the Lord had called me to do, and I did it faithfully. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And regardless of the ups and downs that happened with the church, I always had access to my apostle. So you darn know I used that to my advantage. Yes, I did. I was like, I don't care what this person says over here. I don't care if this person left or this person did whatever. All I know is I cleaned this woman's house and I'm getting in.
And what I love about serving someone like Dr. Price is she gives you that type of full access. If you get in that inner circle type, inner world, I will say, with her, and you're busting suds or you're doing whatever, you're going to get a business plan. She's going to pour out, listen, this is a strategy. Now with technology, she will work on a whole, I was thinking about our conversation we had, and I got in chat and and this is what you can do with this to build your entire business and to do whatever. And I just had to make that plug, love working for somebody like that, where it's not a one way. You clean, you do this, you're the help, you're over here in the corner, I just don't, whatever. But all of those little things along the way, that cracks me up. That's true.
Well, and people think that servanthood isn't a part of prophecy.
Oh,
servanthood is also a huge part of prophecy, because you have to be trusted with the things that God gives, those small, insignificant, toilet scrubbing things, before God's going to trust you with the bigger parts of your prophecy. So
that's a very Joseph thing to say, because when you think about Joseph in Potiphar's house, we really do go to the upper echelon idea. He just walked around all day with a checklist. You do this and you do this. And not that he started because he was a slave. His brothers sold him into slavery and had to work his way up to being the head of that, and then back in prison and became in charge in prison, and then had to work his way up. So busting suds and scrubbing toilets is probably a wonderful sign that you were on track.
Okay.
To rulership. Scrub this toilet.
Absolutely. 1, 2, it's so important the attitude you do it in.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Because some people, they're like, well, I'm just going to put in my time because that's what I need to do. The Lord ministered to me a lot in working and cleaning this house. Okay. The Lord did a lot. The Lord did a lot. I'm not going to say every day was easy. Oh my gosh. There was a time that I thought I twisted my ankle off. I horribly twisted my ankle.
I remember that.
And I just remember I was like, God, I'm going to go in there with my crutches. And I literally just scooted along on my bottom and dusted, because I was like, if that's all I can do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep my word. I have to. And Dr. Price just looked at me like, what are you doing?
Why are you here?
Like, yeah, she was just like, but it was like, it's like understanding that servanthood isn't just that call to that person. It's a call. You're answering your call to God, because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to God that he's clocking. But so, I was cleaning in the house, Dr. Price and we had this whole moment. She was like, come here. Come here.
Daughter, come here, daughter.
She had remember she had that brown recliner. She was sitting in her recliner. And she was like, you have got to make a decision. You have got to stop being scared. You got to make a decision. She was like, she was like, I don't think you're going to be happy in the PA, because I was, again, pursuing the PA program. I think I'm going to be a physician's assistant. And Dr. Price was like, I don't see you in that. I'm just really not seeing you in that. She was like, it doesn't awaken your passion. She was like, the one thing that you always loved was you are that lab rat. You are that scientist. You have got to get to the why. You love finding out the why and how things work. She was like, the most excited I ever saw you was a project I did for humanities. And that was, I did this whole project. I did this whole paper on the Black Plague. And
yeah.
You doing this research, doing this disease research, and you being, in essence, a disease detective, that is the one time you literally stayed up all night, and you were just like, there wasn't a weary bone in your body. You could have gone days just doing that.
First of all, let me just interrupt you and say this. The disease detective could be a tagline for something you do. Seriously. Like Prophet Marie Solberg, the disease detective. I mean, anyway, go ahead. We'll talk about this after.
If you think about it, in essence, that's not all of epidemiology. There's a lot of different facets of epidemiology. But
blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'm a layman's term. Blah, 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 blah. We don't care about all that. Disease detective resonates with marketing. Come on.
The main thing that epidemiologists do is disease detection. So
thank you.
Being a disease detective. So
we don't care about that other stuff.
So in essence, and then it was like, okay, so, and then I was like, you know what? Okay, you're right. And so I narrowed it down to should I do epidemiology or immunology? And she was like, both seem like they're floating in the boat, but she was like, those two, pursue God on those two. And immunology is a course that's not super easy to get into. I think I had a couple of courses that I would have had to redo because so much time had passed.
Okay.
So epidemiology qualified. And as I went through it, I was like, this is it. This is my calling. This is that branch, not of medicine, but in that field that I should do. I was like, yep, this is it. This is it. This is it. This is it. And then even with that, like I said, do it. Sometimes there's just a lot of hard work. It isn't just magic. There's still hard work when it comes to prophecy. There were so many setbacks. One of the reasons I had to start in the spring was I had to work out the rest of my ORU student loans. I had to get into this forgiveness program, and I had to make so many payments to qualify for this forgiveness program and get the rest of it wiped out so that I could go to the University of Oklahoma, so I could do my master's. On top of the fact, it had been too long, too much time had passed, so I had to take again anatomy and physiology at the med student level. So like I said, if you ever see the two combined, that's like high school level, and that's just like that's for non-science majors. At the medical level, there are two full courses that are their own. So
okay,
I had to do those two courses at Tulsa Community College. Thank God, got a 4.0, scored very high on both of those classes. And with completing those two courses, those two prerequisites, as well as taking my GRD, taking this big test that I was like, as a dyslexic, I do not do well with standardized testing. I put in all the work, did all the extra stuff, got all my testing updated. So
I remember that.
Extra time.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I got, they reviewed my scores and they were like, we're going to give you an extra 2 hours. I was like, yes, okay, I can do this. I can take my time. I can do this. Did pretty decent on the GRE. So yeah, there was a lot of hard work. There's a lot of hard things that had to be in place before I could even get into the prophecy, before I could ever arrive.
You're making a statement here. You're making so many, and I want to thank you for taking us through the details of that, because when you meet somebody who has arrived, as not just in the prophecy, but in the fulfillment, you don't know everything it took and all the setbacks and redos and setbacks and redos that ultimately proved you have the constitution for this calling, because that is a huge part of the calling, is bouncing back and recovering. What you do, watching you during COVID, because that was the beginning of your career, going all over Oklahoma, having to investigate cases, having to do all those things. I mean, you, because of the nature of confidentiality, could not talk about details of what you were doing, but just knowing the general details of what the job entailed. Out in these rural areas, having to take the sheriff with you to knock on some of the doors because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, all of that speaks to the bounce back that you have to have and the resolve to move forward with this career. But everything leading up to it was the testing and the proving that you would need to excel in this profession as a prophet and as a scientist. And that should not be overlooked, because people get easily discouraged, or sometimes not easily discouraged. Sometimes they're confused because we're told and taught in general, the public, that the word of God is going to take care of itself. And all you have to do is show up. That's kind of how I've seen it posted. Prophecy, the word of the Lord is, and you just need to believe and have faith and just stand on that word. Well, you need to work that word and to go back. And I was there. I remember the day you were like, I just sat on the floor and cried.
Yep.
In school. They put you in the wrong class. They put you in a class that was too advanced for your year, which they don't seem to care about. And on the floor, like, I don't even know. On your way to greatness, the road to greatness is paved with many boxes of empty Kleenex, okay? And just empty Kleenex boxes and lots of tears and crying and frustrating. And you quit. You quit every day on the road to greatness, and you get up and do it again. This is my last day. Okay, well, this is my last day. Okay, well, I'll finish this guy. Okay, I'll finish this course. And that's a part of the journey. There is no fast track to greatness. There might be a fast track to being out front for certain people, usually short-lived. But greatness is a different journey. I want to thank you for sharing that. That's actually not what I thought we would talk about in this first episode of our series here, but I think it's necessary. It's easy to get caught up in only the science of what you do and not talk enough about the prophetic side, the obedience, the prophetic pathway. And Dr. Price teaches on pathways and roadways and all the acronym ways of how, and timelines, and how prophecy has to fall into the realities of life, the reality of discovery, the reality of making mistakes, the reality of getting it right. Having professors that hate your guts and they don't even know why. People who are so hard, people who love absolutely everything you're doing, and the redo. the redo, the redo. In our organization, Marsha Wither, she's a minister. She talked about how many times she had to take the minister's training program before she graduated. In my previous episode with Apostle Dwayne Whitehead, he took a class in Price University. Christology, I believe, is the one we were talking about. He said, I failed that class the first time. I had to take it again. I said, well, we all kind of failed it because we don't know Jesus the way we thought.
It's so true.
And had to take it again. He said, but I took it again because I needed to get that under my belt. And as an apostle, you kind of need to know about Jesus and then to hear your journey. So I would like to just conclude this episode with everybody by saying, if God has given you a word, don't expect it to be easy to come to pass, especially if it's a high word, a high call. The steps, the prophecy does not negate the process. And that's what we need to understand. And Prophet Marie, you articulated wonderfully everything you had to do to get to the doorway of beginning to fulfill the word of the Lord concerning your life. Let's look at David.
Oh, yeah.
Kingship was the final destination. Oh my, the giants and you're talking about your father-in-law is actually literally trying to kill you. And he has the office to do it legally. You have all these things going on, wives and craziness and wilderness and on the run and everything else to get to the beginning of the manifestation of that aspect of the word. But in fact, the prophecy ignites the pathway opening up for your life to take effect. I think that's great. Any final thoughts from you in this episode? And then in the next episode, we will address why we're actually here.
Yeah, I think just to encourage everyone, you got to put in your cave hours, right? Like,
excuse me.
you got to put in your cave hours. Like I said, you mentioned, David would not have been the king that he was. David would not have been able to, even with his mistakes, David would not have been able to craft the nation of Israel the way that he did without his cave hours. So just to encourage everyone out there, the higher the word, the more cave hours you're going to need to put in. And just don't run from it. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because yes, is it going to be hard? Yes, are there going to be times where you're on the phone with your mentor and you just fall to the floor crying because you're so scared you're not going to graduate? Those are real moments. But those are the moments that decide whether you're going to do this for God or are you going to do this for your ego? Because when you do it for your ego, you will tap out. You will. You'll tap out and you'll find some easier route. But when you decide to do it for God, and when, like for me, I think nothing challenged the merge to be a whole person as a scientist and a prophet than walking through my master's program. I could not tell you how many times I was told over and over and over again, you need to do this as a prophet. You've got to use your mantle. Use your mantle to get through this. You've got to do this through your mantle and not around your mantle. The realities of working that out can be really difficult. Because you're taking something really spiritual and making it very real, very tangible, very tactile. And making that transition can be hard. But knowing that you just got to keep that end goal in mind. Like for me, in those moments, it was, here's the sad part. Just to note a sad part that your ending isn't sometimes as glorious as you think it's going to be. My end goal that I kept on envisioning was being in my graduation robes, cap, gown, everything, walking across there, being able to take pictures with my advisors, with my diploma and be like, here's my master's. I'm officially an epidemiologist. I have arrived. We finished. We did it. I graduated December of 2019. COVID hit. I was not able to walk. I was not able to have a ceremony. I didn't even bother spending the money, getting the gowns or the cap or anything, because what was the point? No one was going to see it. I didn't get to walk. I didn't get anything. All we all got, and there was like 8 of us that graduated that year. I got a box with confetti that had my diploma in it, with some like University of Oklahoma, stuff in there. And it was like, congratulations.
Wow. And the anticlimactic finish is often the result. One of my younger advisees just graduated high school. And I was like, how does it feel? He's like, it doesn't feel like anything. It's just, another day. I said, I understand, because when I graduated high school, I felt the same way. Graduated from college, it was like, okay, we had the ceremony and life is moving on. I mean, it's a wonderful demarcation.
Yeah.
But even with that, those moments, I believe, can cause an individual to really have to take inventory of, I'm totally disappointed in this moment. Now, you reached your goal,
I did,
but the celebration did not happen. Now what?
Yeah.
So that's a lot to think about. I think we could talk about this for another hour, but we're not. Thank you, everybody.
The way your ego is going to be challenged.
Crushed like powder. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Apostle of the Future. Special guest, Prophet Marie Solberg. Tune in next week for the next part of this discussion.
Thank you for watching Apostle of the Future. Learn more about Apostle Ashleigh's ministry, training options, and books at ashleighcministries.com.